Chairman of the Conservative think tank, the Bow Group. Good to see you this morning. What do you make of all of this? I mean, it's whichever way you look at it, it's pretty shocking, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, and it's set in the wider context. We are told of 56 MPs currently being investigated for some kind of sexual offence, which is, just under 10% of the whole, and about 50 times higher than the national average. So there is clearly something going on in Parliament that marks it apart from the average workplace and the average community. And I think that's been going on for quite some time. It's Parliament hasn't really moved in step with the rest of the country, and clearly something needs to be done to arrest that. And you can look at individual cases like Neil Parish and the fact that he's resigned, but I think there is a wider problem there that this is indicative of, rather than him being the centre of any problem.
See, what we hear a lot, and not just about this, but about any topic, to be honest, is something must be done. Well, yeah, but what? Because that's the key point, is it? It seems very hard to know what action can be taken quickly to actually try to sort this out.
Well, I think there are two things, and the Speaker of the House has indicated a keen willingness to actually take radical action to try and solve some of these problems. I was involved in exposing a scandal back in 2015 that was known as the Tatler-Tory scandal. And one of the problems with that was that a lot of the misbehaviour that was occurring outside of the walls of Parliament, and that would be the same in an Imran Khan case, for example, where he was engaged in sexual assault of a minor, but it was going on outside of Parliament, and therefore the parliamentary authorities wouldn't have jurisdiction over it. So I think there are two major things that needs to happen. One, there needs to be a catch-all independent body that would include an ombudsman for staff to go to, and there wouldn't be any fear of reprisal in doing so. And two, it needs to cover political organisations like the Conservative Party, like the Labour Party, as well as MPs, so it can deal with issues that go on in politics but outside the building of Parliament itself. And I think you could also have a system where a number of other organisations that are allied to the field of politics could sign up to that organisation. The problem is that at the moment MPs employ staff effectively as sealed units from the whole, so they're employing staff personally and they're accountable to their constituents. So there's not an overall body that can really rule on all of this and what's going on in MPs' constituencies as well. And I think that needs to happen. There needs to be a recognition that this is a political problem as much as it is a House of Commons problem.
Ben, what do you make of Oliver Dowden's suggestion that half of MPs Conservative MPs should be women by the time of the next election? This in reaction to this porn scandal. Is that the answer, do you think? We were having a debate in our newspaper review earlier, questions of whether it's positive discrimination or whether it's women being used to make men behave better. What are your thoughts?
Well, I don't think that is the answer, because I think what the public want to see, they want to see MPs held to account by the kind of independent body that is being discussed. But they also want a decision that they can make. If they feel an MP has behaved inappropriately, whether they've cleared the rules or whether they've acquitted themselves of any legal case, if the public feel an MP has behaved inappropriately, I think they need to be the ultimate and final arbiter of that behaviour. Now, we have right of recall that came in 2015, and I think that's good. But I don't think there needs to be an anti-democratic system of saying, well, we're going to have 50% women, 50% men, and a quota-based system. I think we need a primary system, so local people decide on the candidates they want, whether it be man, woman, or whomever, and the public therefore act as that ultimate and final arbiter of MPs' behaviour. I don't believe in quotas, and I don't think democracy is about quotas. Democracy is about the local people having the final decision.
And well, I think a lot of people would probably agree with you on that. The difficulty is trying to persuade women or ethnic minorities or whoever it might be that they can get into part, that they're willing to throw their hat into the ring. And for that to happen, there does need to be some reform, doesn't there, in Westminster? Even on the women's side, I mean, at least better childcare would presumably make a big difference. It's got to be changed at the top before people are willing to stand up, doesn't it?
Yeah, but when you say change at the top, I think certainly training schemes and things like that. I mean, it is worth mentioning that in 1979, Britain had its first female prime minister, and in my opinion, that went rather well. So these barriers have been knocked down long in the past. I don't think there is a real impediment. Now, there was certainly huge challenges faced by women back in the 60s and 70s, but I don't think that impediment is there now. It's more about encouraging women to stand rather than removing barriers that exist in the political system, because I don't think those barriers are there. And as I say, the ultimate result has to be one of democracy, and hopefully you get people from all walks of life wanting to stand for Parliament, but it's more important that the public are in charge of that decision than it is trying to make sure that Parliament is, exactly falling into the quotas that the people at the top want.
Yeah, OK. Ben Harris-Quinney from the Bow Group, thank you very much indeed. Love your thoughts on that. gbviews@gbnews.uk. It's an interesting one. So I think quotas are generally unpopular, aren't they?
No, exactly.
Meritocracy.
Well, we'd like to hear your thoughts on that. I'm sure many of you do have an opinion on that story. gbviews@gbnews.